and I'm looking for evidence of toys, dog toys, or a bowl or a dog. And that will, I'll say, right, sorry, I'm just not going here. And in I go. And invariably the dog is there and the owner's there. And then I know I haven't got much time if I'm coming in literally on the hoof.
Okay.
Because they'll say, oh, sorry, I've got to attend to the customers and now's not a good time. And I'll say, don't worry, I can wait. And if it's a shop, it works well. So the method I have there is just to go in and just, quite often I buy something. It is a shop that I do like.
So it's more of like a spur of the moment kind of situation. It wasn't like you kind of pre-planned it and then like made an appointment with the shop owner or anything. It's just on the
That
fly.
was initially, no, that was initially, and then I had to change it because I wanted to go in other workplaces like offices and
Mm.
studios and places that needed a little bit more time, a little bit more preparation. If people were working and it's an office, you have to make an appointment. So after that, I started looking at people's Instagrams and then chatting, direct messaging them and saying, look, I'm doing this project. Are you interested? And if they said yes, we made an appointment. And then literally I went in, as for an appointment. And it made sure that I had at least a good 10 minutes
Okay.
plus. Oh, it was more than 10 minutes, probably half an hour to three-quarters of an hour with them is all I needed.
Wow. That's pretty quick. That's pretty quick to get your project done.
Yeah, because I'm also talking to them as well. Sorry.
That's okay. What I always find fascinating is like we as writers, we choose the structure and the words for every single sentence. And I always thought in my sort of, flippant way, oh, it must be so easy to put together a picture book because you're a photograph book, because you take the pictures and then you pop the photographs in until I actually watched the process of selection of each photograph. Jackie takes 50 to maybe 100 photographs at any given session. And then you have to tell us a little bit about the choosing the photograph that's going to star in the book.
I try and make them as different as possible, but there are limitations. One office dog is pretty much same as another office dog. You just sit them on a desk or something. But I try and vary the whole thing. I remember going into this estate agent's office in Charleston in South Carolina, not far from where you are, Kath. And this young guy was so sweet, and he had a cockapoo or something. And he was very game to be photographed in like anything. I said, oh, well, would you wrap the dog around your shoulders?
Oh,
And he did. And so people are funny. They're very compliant. So that I thought was a good photograph because it was different, just it
mhm.
rang the changes. Not that that guy was going to do that in his workplace anytime soon, but I had to make them all slightly different, and that was the challenge for me, to find the right angle, the right sort of position for the dog, or making it slightly different. And so the choices are based on how that photograph has turned out and to just the variety as well.
Okay. And you would go into these photo shoots like pretty raw then. You weren't bringing any bounce lights or any extra lights or anything, or were you?
Occasionally I may have had a sort of portable bounce light thing, but
Mhm.
but not really. And I didn't use flash on camera. I wanted to make this as natural as possible, just because
Okay.
it was so much still on the hoof, and I just didn't want to have a setup which would make it artificial. So that was an issue with lighting, of course, and dogs move. And so the biggest thing is the owners of the dogs who were sort of, sitting with the dog on their lap, and they kept stroking the dog really quickly. I said, could you keep your hand still? Because they were going to be blurred. And the dog was being perfectly good, but I had to tell them to stop moving. So it was a bit like the old-fashioned photography, um, in that sense.
That's hilarious. I love that.
And then the thing is to make sure the dog knows that work is work and home is home. And then they can go skittish, and they can, if they've been in a shop all day long, sort of lying on their bed, of course they go out for walks and they exercise, but they're very good when they're in the shops if they're things that are breakable or things that they are trained, they know not to move, but the minute they get home, they go mad, they go wild.
What was the hardest shooting day that stands out in your mind right now to you? Like what day was like the most challenging?
Well, they all have their small challenges. It's just trying to keep the owner focused and not sort of going off at a tangent, and just really just ask, I have become firmer as as time has gone up through, and I say, no, please, can you do this, that, and I've become boss rather than them saying, oh, do you think I should? No, I'm telling you what to do. Be controlled.
That leads me to my other question. What do you remember an actual favorite day of shooting from I'm talking about just the book itself. Like, was there a favorite day that you shot from?
Yeah, and also, I just wanted to add as well before I speak about that, is that there are captions, so I am taking down notes, and I am asking the dog owners what the dogs bring to the picture by coming in to work with them. I am writing notes, and these captions quite often reveal that, for example, if it's a rescue dog, the dog almost brings more to the owner by being rescued, and it's just those stories that are and they're amazing. Everybody seems to have a story with a dog in the workplace, and anyway, it's all there to be seen, because here
But
are
it's more than a caption, isn't it? They are actually little vignettes, little stories, and they really, in those few, probably 100 to 200 words, tell so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just trying to see if I can find the one that oh, I can't find it. But the one that sticks out in my mind as one of my favorite days was when I was wandering around London, a part of London that I don't go to often. And that's been another thing for me, is just to go out to places that I've never been to before, and I'm not, I can be quite invisible. Because I could just wander around and backpack on my camera, and nobody notices me, and that's the beauty of it. So I happen to be in a place called Shoreditch, which is in the sort of east part of London. It's very trendy now, and I came across a guy who was putting together. He was doing something with some wires, and he had a dog next to him. And I thought, oh, this looks quite unusual. And he looked homeless, but he had a dog, and he was doing something, and he was making figurines. And these figurines